All right, we're going live, brother.
Okay.
All right, get ready, get ready. Because Brother Brooks taking too long. You know, I don't understand. Brother Brooks is taking too long. So we get ready to go ahead and go live. All right, welcome. Welcome to Health is Wealth. I'm your host, Christian Varner. And I have a special guest and maybe one more joining us who happens to be running a little bit late. But this is, I'm gonna let him introduce yourself, brother.
Man, I am the one and only. You might know me by Jose Rose. You might know me as you getting us extra reps.
Tell him why you mad.
Oh man, I'm Joel, man. I'm Joel World. How y'all doing? Man, I've known Christian for double-digit years. I can't even count, man.
Too long, man. Too long.
Going back to playing baseball, rec baseball, into adulthood, man. You know, we watched each other kind of grow up a little bit, mature into men. And
yes, sir.
Yeah, that's my brother. That's my brother from another mother.
Amen. 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 Well, Coach Brooks is late, so we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna continue our podcast. So tonight we're gonna have politics of sports, right? So we're gonna jump right into it. I'm gonna ask you the question, man. What are your thoughts about the NBA and their postponement of games? And well, they're playing now, but what do you think about that move, man? You think it was good? Was it smart?
Well, I think it definitely was smart. I definitely will say that, especially at the time, sports betting had been going up and just in that realm, if you're in that realm, FanDuel, all of those little avenues, it was starting to increase. Money starting to flow a little bit more now. I know there's still a lot of unemployment in the country, but money is starting to flow. Stock market starting to move. And so I thought it was a great move. I thought it forced people who were into that realm, into those things, to actually stop and say, man, okay, what's really happening? So politically, I thought it was a good move, just to bring awareness and to bring light to what's going on in the world.
Respect. Yeah. Well, they basically boycotted, or they canceled the game for the shooting. I believe the gentleman's name is, let me not misquote it. What is it? Jacob Blake in Kenosha, Wisconsin. So he was shot 7 times, but he's paralyzed from the waist down. So I believe that entire situation sprung up from that. You know, they've been really having a lot of political moves in sports, period. You know, my question is, do you think we should separate politics and sports, or should we continue to mingle the two?
Well, I don't know if I'm gonna say we should separate politics and sport. Because at the end of the day, we have to realize that these athletes are human beings. And their stage is using their athleticism to bring entertainment to the world. So we can't be mad when they want to use their stage to make political statements, to bring enlightenment or bring light to masses of people who may not be aware of what's really going on.
Using their voice for a positive cause.
Yeah, using their voice definitely for a positive cause. So, you know, I have conversations every day with people who aren't African American, people of color, and they have no idea about what's going on. They have no idea about the things that are afflicting our communities. However, they do know who James Harden is. They do know who LeBron James is. So if it takes LeBron James or any other athlete, even when you talk about Major League Baseball, they postpone some of their games, even if it takes these athletes
Mhm.
stopping their play to raise awareness,
Mhm.
to use their voice to raise awareness. I'm totally for it.
So you think it's a smart political move?
I think it's a smart move. I don't think it can hurt, honestly. I
Okay.
think it's very, very smart.
Okay. Well, I mean, I do too. I do too. Honestly, I think it's very smart. I mean, you have a lot of followers, you have influence, unlike anything else.
Hmm.
I mean, as we know, all kids watch sports. All kids know who LeBron James is, who probably don't know who's running for president. Let's just be real.
Right.
Now, but sometimes for me, it feels like they overlap. Like I feel like sometimes there is no separation. Politics to me look like it's starting to turn into entertainment.
Mm.
That's kind of why to me, I see they're developing, well, they're attracting the same following. You dig what I'm saying? Because it's starting to be entertainment. I don't know if there's really a clear difference between the two right now.
Well, I can definitely see where you're saying that. Honestly, a lot of people, a lot of people think that our current president has made it entertainment, has made
Mm,
politics entertainment.
mm,
Um, you have to remember, the first time. I mean, Donald Trump has been on the scene for a long time. However,
mm,
he entered that realm of reality TV when he had his show The Apprentice.
mm,
And in today's culture, in today's society, whether it's positive or negative, we call it trending. As long as you're trending, any publicity is good publicity. So now you have now you have a lot of politicians who
mm,
are not in the lane of being a politician or being a
mm,
public servant. More so, oh, I'm trying to get, I'm trying to get likes. I'm trying to get views. I'm trying to get heard. And
mm.
in our society and our culture right now, the best way to be heard is just to be trending. You have to be entertaining. You have to catch the people's eye. If you're
Mm.
not catching the people's eye, you're not you're not going to get your agenda across.
So is all attention good attention?
Say no. All attention isn't good attention.
Mm.
However, our culture and our society we live in today now says all attention is good attention.
It's marketable. I mean,
It
these
is.
brands are paying for who's getting the most attention,
It is.
and that's
Yeah.
that. And for what I see is the political parties are recognizing that, and that's why they're trying to get behind, these major people like a Cardi B, because they have
Yeah.
so many followers on Twitter that if they say vote for somebody, more than likely they'll vote for them, not even understanding any of their, anything that they stand for, any of their political pushes, or anything they did prior to being a candidate for presidency.
Right. Well, see, the thing we had to realize about that is that's something that has always been happening. I mean, you think about going back to in the black church.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of these politicians, you will never see them in the communities. Matter of fact,
Mm.
they're, I don't want to speak for everyone because
Yeah,
there
yeah.
are a lot of people who are politically astute.
Mm.
However, the masses, the majority, you will have no idea who the politicians are. You have no idea what their agenda is. You have no idea how they're trying to help, how they can help our community. However,
Mm.
they show up to the church. They show up to the church when it's time to get elected. We can even go back to the days of I'm from Baltimore, so Martin O'Malley, you know,
Mm.
um,
Mm.
Martin O'Malley coming in a major, predominantly black city,
Mm-hmm.
becoming a white mayor, Democratic
Mm.
mayor, to be elected uh, in a major city that is
Mm-hmm.
90% African American.
Mm.
Then what was his political agenda? How did he even help our community? Because to me, our communities never got better. Honestly, over the years, I've just seen our communities get worse and worse and worse. And it's about entertainment. It's about let me go. I'm gonna make this look good, so I can get what I want. And ultimately that's elected. So you look at Donald
Mm,
Trump,
mm.
reality TV star.
Yeah, I mean, and that's there you go. That's what it's become. And I don't know if Trump ushered that. If President Trump ushered that in, I'm not sure, because it
Mm-hmm.
was becoming a lot of entertainment prior to that. Um,
Mm-hmm.
the older that you get, I gotta say that most people who are great at rhetoric are probably the best liars you've ever seen.
Yeah.
Because authenticity has nothing to do with the words that you speak. You
Right.
just have become magical with words, but authenticity is something that you show, and it's like a feeling. You get around people; they can sound great, but how they feel is what brings authenticity, which makes you feel safe. It's a spiritual thing.
Yeah.
Coach
Yeah.
Brooks, what's up,
Yo,
brother?
man,
Welcome to the show.
I
Hey, how you
was,
doing, Coach?
hey, how you doing? You know how the kids get you.
It's all good. So look, we in the topic already. Um,
hmm
Joel has basically give his spiel. We're gonna try not to stay for an hour and a half tonight. I'm not trying to
Okay.
get Joel in trouble, and I'm not trying to get in trouble. We all got wives. Stop playing. Stop playing, okay? No. But check it
Uh,
out. So what I asked Joel was, how did he feel about the NBA
hmm
protesting and not having their game? And of course, they're
Right.
playing now, but they protested that game. I mean, how do you feel about that? Do you think it was a smart political move, or do you feel like it was just a game, or
It was personally, because the plight of the black community right now.
Mhm.
I think you might have saw a book that I posted up online that I just started reading. It was called 100 Years of Lynching, and
Oh
that
yes,
that
yes,
book
yes.
I posted that book. I got it from my neighbor. That book is very graphic, and the things that are in that book are
Mm-hmm.
actually they're still happening today.
Mm,
We're still being lynched.
mm.
We're still
Elaborate
being
on that.
lynched. We're still being lynched by the police. We're still being lynched if during this pandemic we had
Mm,
these unexplained suicides in
mm,
different states that
mm,
nobody, even in my state down South Philly, which was
mm,
very quiet on the news. Very quiet. So, I understand what the NBA was trying to do. I understand what they was trying to do, but because we're in this position, and a lot of people don't understand, and even white America doesn't understand
mm,
their brutality, their mindset, and how they have constructed the America in which we live in.
mm,
It tells you exactly who's the violent people.
mm,
It tells you exactly who's the violent people. It tells you
mm,
exactly who's on drugs. It tells you exactly who participates in pedophilia, incest. It tells you all those things. None of them have to do with black.
mm,
But the thing is, I understand what they were doing, but this thing got so many levels to it, and I've seen people argue about, well, about their voting, about the voting rights, about voting,
mm,
and if their vote counts. I've been seeing that conversation going as well. I mean, I understand what they're doing. I'm also seeing what some of the owners are saying for the NFL whenever they come back around. Some people still don't understand why Black Lives Matter.
mm,
And until Black Lives Matter, then because we're not part of all lives. Just by me reading over those years of lynching, 100 years of lynching, which is still going on right now, dude. It was the depictions in that documentary book. The depictions, because you're reading it and you're gathering a picture in your head about somebody being burned to the stake. You're getting a picture in your head where you're burning on the stake. You're innocent because they had a lot of times where the mob would just come get you. The mob would come if you got arrested. They would just come get you and take you out and do what they want to you. You know, this stuff is still happening now, but the cops are doing the lynching, and they're getting away with it. They're getting away
Oh,
with it.
So if
go ahead.
hey, so Coach Brooks made a really, really good point there. And I want to go back to him talking about voting because I was having, and I'm having these conversations now, because I was definitely one of those people who would say my vote didn't count. I don't see the point of voting. You know, people are only they're only working for their political agenda as it is. I definitely was talking about Illuminati, you know,
Right.
back in the days, and you know the top 2% that run the country.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think some of that is still true today. However, we can't, and this is my wholehearted belief, we won't see true change in our communities until we realize the power of our vote.
Now, okay, so good. I'm glad you went there. So that's a part of the. Go ahead. Go ahead.
So even man, I love the political statement that was made by the NBA players and the athletes. I do. I love it. But at the end of the day, and this is just my belief. You know, I know LeBron James's home was vandalized in California, but he lives behind a gated house with security guards. If LeBron James is driving down the street and he gets stopped by the police, nobody's going to say, and I'm talking about now. Now, LeBron, when he was in Akron, Ohio, coming out in high school, you know, might have been a different story, but even the stories I've heard, I mean, he was celebrated between him and Maurice Clarett. They were like Mr. Ohio's, you know, all of that to say, yeah, a lot of people forget about him, but all of that to say is I can stop by the police, man, and I have a different level of fear, even though I did nothing wrong, even though, you know, I understand like, hey, you know what, hands on the steering wheel. I've already pulled all of my things out before the cop pulls up. Now that versus somebody that has the stature of a lot of our NBA athletes and NFL athletes, I understand the political statement, but you're so far removed, in my opinion now, from what's really happening in the streets. I applaud you to come and give money to our communities and because it's needed, but you're so far, your status makes you so far removed from the everyday experience of African American men, boys, men, women in our communities. So
how does that happen? How do you get so far removed from the grassroots of where you come from? Are we still talking about a systemic system that it creates systemic racism, or it puts young Black athletes who become successful in a place where no one around them looks like them? Is that a system that does that?
Yeah. I mean, the same way, I just want to go back because I also, same thing with the police. I told the kids, I remember when I was just starting out driving, Greek picnic up at Fairmount Park here in Philly. You know, I had a cop, he just was going ballistic, white cop. He dives across my hood like he was TJ Hooker, you know, and he's screaming and hollering. Or I remember the times when me and my friends would be down going to the gallery mall in Philly. And I got stopped because I look like somebody. I look like. And then after they checked me out, you know, they said, I fit a description. Come on now. Fitting descriptions.
What is that? What does that mean?
Yeah, you know, fit a description. You know, and I think a lot of times, here's what happens, I think sometimes, and I told somebody this too, growing up in Southwest and being in North Philly, you know, once you start making your moves, you want to leave. You want to get out. You want to get out.
Same thing in Baltimore.
Yeah, you want to get out. You want to get out the hood. You want to get out. And when you get out, you know, you're trying to do something a little different for you and your family. So you are removing yourself. You are removing yourself. But then again, you have to stay in, you have to keep it in perspective. I'm able to now, meaning that now I may have a little bit more resources than I had before, but I also have to understand where I came from and not get caught up in the rhetoric or the traditional things that they do with us when they use us as athletes. You know, because that whole contract thing is, I mean, sometimes these guys, some of the young guys, I remember when Chris Carter used to have his symposiums for the NFL. And a lot of
he got
guys,
in trouble.
Yeah, but remember when he had them, remember how them young guys did not understand the language of the contracts coming in. They didn't understand a whole lot of things going on. And they still don't. And I always liked when he did that, because some of these guys, they get locked into a contract that is going to not produce them enough money for what they do. Long money, right? Because everything seems short. And then I look at some of these guys who elect to have, you know, what they used to call it, underload or overload, front load or back load kind of contract, where you got all these incentives and all these things. Some things you may be able to get to, and some things you might not be able to get to.
Majority you won't.
Right. And you were in the NFL, so you know how those contracts are structured.
The only thing that's guaranteed is your signing bonus. That's it. Other than that, everything else is incentivized. Now, on the business side of that conversation, you got to understand going into this that it is a predatory business.
Right.
Sports and paying athletes to perform as an entertainer. If you are an entertainer on the stage and art and theater, they're all the same thing as entertainment, right? You're performing. You train to perform on a day, right? It's a predatory business. Ain't nobody doing that to not make money or lose money. They're doing it to make money. So they can't pay you but so much because they got so many other people to pay. But if we ever get to the logistics of it and understand like business at another level, these businesses are making money on so many levels that it will blow your mind that you thinking about seats, you thinking about ticket sales, you thinking about cable. I'm talking about the world been fast forward past that. Okay, they got phone contracts now with cellular companies. Like they getting money from places you're not even thinking about. So the fact that the contract is not restructured for more when they're making more money than they've ever made as an NFL or NBA or anything, because the internet, podcasting, every kind of internet service, Spotify, everything, they are all putting up big money to be able to have some kind of subscription service with these major sports. And that's where the money is on the back end. Because we're still thinking 10 years ago. The internet sped things up. So 10 years is really like a year or two in today's time because everything's so fast. So these athletes are negotiating wrong, right? We're all behind, especially college sports. College sports is far behind that this was bound to happen with people playing, not playing. And it just took a pandemic to expose a wound that has already been there. That wound has always been there. Athletes always been talking about possibly getting paid or having benefit or restructuring how the business is done at the collegiate level. Because it's just too much money going around for it to be structured that way. It's just too much. So we got to restructure that whole thing. But
now, just like you said, they're not willing to do it because you got AT&T. Just about every phone service is involved with the college and the sport. Then just like you said with the subscription service, XM satellite. You know you can get XY. If you get XM satellite, I know we got it when we got our.
You talking a whole nother level. You see, you talking a level of business knowledge where we think that is common sense. But let me tell you, it's not, because someone's going to pay you an extra $1 million in your contract where you need to say, I don't want more money. I need shares.
Right.
Put some shares in my contract. I need long money. I need that money that when they air this 100 times in the off season, I'm getting residual. I'm getting a check. See, that's big boy talk. That's another level of talk that you ain't even thinking. You're thinking about money when inflation is happening.
Right.
So that $20, that $100, that $1 million is not going to buy the same things it used to because inflation is happening or deflation. So either or, it's affecting how that fiat is effective in the market. But your contract is based off that. But we need to start talking about long money stocks, right? Think about this. I gave my wife a suggestion. I said, what if these athletes are part of not paying them was giving them every year they became like you letter every year that you play or that you're a contributing player to a major sport. Let's not pay them. Let's let them graduate with shares of this university.
And that's long money right there.
I'm gonna give you a certificate
that's
showing you for playing at this school, making us money. I'm giving you shares. See, that's big boy talk. That's big boy talk because
that's a great idea.
That's a legacy. That's a legacy.
That's a great idea.
You can't blow that.
Legacy for you. That's a legacy for your family. If you die, if you pass on, that's a legacy for your family.
So you telling me that I'm the only person that thought of that? No, sir. No, sir. Someone has already thought of that long ago, but that's the conversation that they don't want to have. That every athlete should leave that school that has contributed to building that school with some shares.
Right.
Because they dedicated their life 4 or 5 years to building a program. They need shares. Them NFL athletes who build those teams, it's not enough to just have NFL pension. I need some shares.
Right.
I need to be able to leverage against debt if I want to go do something in life and say I got shares of the NFL and I would like to acquire some money and leverage myself in some debt to start this business or buy this building. See, that's a whole nother conversation. But before we go into the business strategics of this, because this could go a whole, because my mind is racing when we get to talking about that paper.
I know.
Man, that's a good idea though.
It's true.
That's a lot of money.
It's a really good idea.
Brother, it does not help to give cash, checks, or something spendable to someone who's financially illiterate.
Ooh.
Right.
You don't change your community that way. The way you change your community is by giving them long money that can grow. By the time that they understand money, it will be worth so much more than when they got it, then they have access to it. We could put stipulations on it. We could say you can't touch it for 5 years until you get your mind right and get your plan together.
Not only that, they can pass it off.
Come on, man. And it's going to grow. It's going to grow. Matter of fact, you might not want to touch it at all. I just want to pass it on to my children.
Yeah.
Right. Treat it like a trust fund. I don't even need this. So this is for my son and my daughter because I got my other monies. I got my other monies available and I don't need this. This money here, this is going to help them. And that's your legacy as a parent or as a man. That's your legacy you just left for the kids.
Yes, this is true. So look, a good friend of mine who works at the media department, well, used to work at the media department at the University of Maryland, Mark, he posed a good question because he was saying that basically only 10 to 15 schools are actually turning profit. We know that those are the major universities and the major conferences.
Right.
We know that a lot of the money is coming from a share. So the way it's structured, if you don't know, you got the Big Ten conference, why you would want to be in a big conference, right? They split shares at the conference. You want to be in the SEC because they're going to make money. The Big Ten, they got the Big Ten network. All right. These schools are going to split shares, right? Certain schools don't really bank like other schools. We know that. We know that a Missouri and the SEC is not breaking like Alabama, or certain schools. We know that they're not even on the same level when it comes to economics, but they share. They share in the revenue pool. But what he's saying is 10 to 15 schools that are actually turning a profit a year, which is true. But if the athletic director has the bank account on zero, there won't be no shares to pay. Now, there is a side of that. I agree that there has to be balance. Like with change, radical change, sometimes things will be upset, which causes us to go back to the drawing board to figure this out differently because it's just too much money going around. There's too many people that are entertained by it for us not to develop a formula that is effective for profits to be received. Because if a coach can get $50 million guaranteed, but he can renege and leave that job and go get a bigger job, but that kid can't transfer without penalty or losing a year, we have a problem. The system is not, it's not correct, right? We're just talking about, we talk about equality.
Yeah.
Right. Equality in all ways has to show itself. And that's not equal that, for example, to send these kids back to college to play sports when there could be an issue that they've already labeled. I don't want to say it wrong. That could come later down the road, 5 or 10 years.
Right.
That coach who sent them out on the field won't even have that job in 10 years.
Right.
So it's not even his, he ain't worried about that. Why would that be his concern? Most coaches, the turnover rate, they'll be gone.
Yeah.
So if politically speaking, let's just say, I'm not saying that it will, if, let's play devil's advocate, something happens 5 years after a kid played for a year, who gonna take responsibility? Anybody gonna be rushing to say that was because he played so we could make some money?
No, they're gonna look for the loophole to say, oh, that was bound to happen because, after he finished playing, what's to say life didn't just affect him? They're gonna find ways.
Yes.
They're gonna find ways to not take accountability for anything.
Agree.
Yep.
Go ahead. And Mark brought up another point. These are valid questions from people who are actually in the media and been for years. That's why I'm posing them, because these are people who are quality questions from them. He says that COVID-19 is going to force schools to hire money managers so they won't be in this position again. I agree. There should be a money manager already for these schools, because I believe that there should be money managers for players who are potentially going to be pro and players who don't go pro. Right. We got to have a plan when we leave this school. And because you hear plan, you're mandated to take financial literacy classes that when you leave here, you understand investing, you understand stock market, you understand bonds, you understand how to establish contracts, you know how to enter contracts, you know how to establish a business, LLC, S Corp, C Corp. You understand the basic fundamentals into going to business, to creating your own dream and not rely on somebody hiring you. I agree. They should have money managers, not just for the school, for the players as well. Because these players are going into the world as young men with no skills.
Yeah. We talked
because
about
you
that.
Catching a football, it's not a skill they're gonna hire you for. And matter of fact, 9 times out of 10, we know the truth is a lot of guys have degrees in things that they don't even understand.
Yep. Or they go.
I'm not being funny. I'm being honest. I'm being honest.
You hit it.
Come on, man.
They took a degree because they needed. The reason that they were at school was 100% football or 100%, whatever that sport was. Whatever that sport was, it was 100%. So
that's pure truth.
And they could not take classes that was going to really challenge their intellect, and they would have to work hard, because where's that time? Because for every class you take, you figure you got to put at least 8 hours, close to 8 hours of study time each class.
Yeah, but you only know that when you do that, when you've been through that. You only know that when you got to wake up 4 a.m. for workouts at 5 a.m. Then you got to get back, shower, get to class. Then you got to lift late on that day. Then you got to watch film. Then you got to wake up and do that all over. So you only know that when you go through that. But there are children on that campus experiencing college in a different way than you.
Yeah.
But again, those are great questions. We derailing. So let's get back to this NBA thing. All right. So listen, what really frustrated me with it's really testing my patience with politics and sports, or like meaningful positions being given to people who are not experts in a certain field. The NBA has been pushing rock the vote, right?
I remember you posted that. I remember.
So I read an article, it made me sit it down and walk away, because I had to take a deep breath, because you have to understand why people say certain things about certain communities, right? We're doing that to ourselves, right? Because you're pushing rock the vote. You boycott because you want to make a decision. You want to have power and affect change. But then they pull your card because they did a research, and 80% of the players are not registered to vote. And see, that to me is foolishness. I don't understand that to me, because then it makes it look like a fraud. It makes a good thing turn around on its head and look like a fraud. And who do we blame for that?
But we're not. But Rock the Vote wasn't concerned about, in my opinion, it wasn't concerned about the athletes being registered to vote. It wasn't concerned about that. The concern is who's looking up to these athletes. When you go into and I mean, I honestly hate to say it, because you know, I've had people want me to get in on their on programs, educational programs, or like just come and like do programs, but they want to surround it around sports. I love sports as much as the next person, but but I mean, as we all sitting here right now, no, there's only about a handful of kids in our community that are actually going to make it to the professional.
You and I both
So
know that. A
who's
handful,
who's
maybe one.
and that's being generous. A handful is being generous. But who are watching these kids? When you go into our communities, kids want to be, you know, Steph Curry. Kids want to be everybody want to be everybody but themselves. You know, and we all been there. So when it comes to rock the vote, I'm just using these athletes as this is just the avenue to get to these young black boys, these young black girls, and you know, these kids in college who know nothing about nothing. And I'm just gonna be honest with you. There's a lot of people. There's a lot who know a lot about a lot, but there's a lot who know very, very minimal. So now I'm using LeBron to say, go, you know, go get out and vote, guys. I'm using Steph to say, go get out and vote.
But why is there not a person? See, this is collectiveness, not individual. And that's a problem. I feel like in our community, we like to move like individuals. Yeah. There's no collective, cohesive unit. If you're going to make that push, let's cross our T's and dot our I's, right?
Let's make sure everybody right.
Everybody, before we go out here and push this campaign, are you registered to vote? Are you registered to vote? If not, let's take care of that first. Then let's push this campaign because it's going to backfire on us. Right. We're going to lose power in a good movement. Yep. It's a good movement, but it loses its authenticity, man, when 80% of the athletes are not registered to vote. Come on, guys. That should have been a stipulation before we went in the bubble. Before we went in the bubble, here's the stipulations. We must be all registered to vote. Make it happen. Then we can go in this bubble before these games can happen. Because I can't look like a fraud in front of people who are already disenfranchised. Yep. I'm representing people, the minority. I'm a voice for them, and I'm making them look bad. I'm representing a people, not myself. So that really, really ticked me off, dog. Like I was really irritated because it doesn't make sense. But another question just came up.
You know it makes sense. You know it makes sense because once they start making the money, okay, then certain things that should not get pushed to the wayside get pushed to the wayside. And because now I just changed my position. Before my family wasn't making this money. Now I'm making this money. I'm a little bit more comfortable. So rock the vote or me being registered to vote is not that big of a priority. Family got to eat. But it's not that big of a priority now. And now, and see, and this is where you lose. This is how these guys lose themselves, and they kind of detach from reality of what's going on. Because if your parents are in your life, or you got mentors, or just you got somebody, some kind of affiliate that works on these teams, there should be somebody, a mentor, mentoring these guys through. I know you can dribble a ball, I know you can run touchdowns, but at the end of the day, I want to make sure that you are right. You are 100% a full spear young man, or young man where you got everything intact, you got all your stuff, you got all your business handled.
Absolutely.
Okay. And they don't have that mentor guy because everybody, when you watch these NFL teams, it's big money. It's big money.
And you can't blame them. When it's a lot of money, I would say this: you don't know the temptation of money until you got it. And then you know how someone could fall for that trick or be tempted when you become a star and you got some money. It's easy to turn your back and forget about people who ain't got it, or try to develop something authentically that could really help people. I'm not talking about your foundation. I'm not talking about, I'm not even gonna talk about the loopholes that go with that junk. I'm talking about you just doing simple stuff. Me and Joel used to have this conversation. There is a practice facility right down the street from Randallstown High School, Newtown High School. You got $1 million, $100,000 athletes working out every day. What stops them from after practice coming out to the field and throwing the ball around with the high school kids once a week? That don't take your
Ooh,
foundation. That don't take your foundation. That don't
Nothing.
take your money. That take your
Nothing.
heart. That take love. That take
Nothing.
authenticity. Because I know who you are.
Yep.
Right? You can't pretend because you're not here. Your money, no, it's your time.
And
It's something you know about a level of success by being there that you have cracked the door. Now come back and open it a little bit wider so somebody else can get through.
And the crazy part to that is kids, man, kids don't want nothing but your time.
They don't want your money.
They don't want nothing but your time. They don't want your money. They don't want you. I mean, in today's time, nowadays, you might have 12 kids on the field, and because of social media, you'll have a slew of people pulling up just to say, Ed Reed came out, Ed Reed was yada yada, and then it goes crazy. So I get that part. I totally get that part. But
I do.
It doesn't take, and I noticed that a lot of these athletes, man, a lot of them, they try to do stuff through their foundation or do stuff through the team, and I'm not saying
that gets people paid.
Right. Like it's all about my time, and I understand that because people use up athletes. They use them up. So by the time I get to the league, now I'm already like, man, well, shoot, as a rookie, I did this. I ain't getting no money for it. Now I'm trying to, but it takes nothing, man. Baltimore Ravens, and I call it the Baltimore Ravens training facility is maybe 10 minutes. Maybe 10 minutes from the local high school.
How many of those kids from Radisson High School met him? Shook a hand. Maybe went to a game. Maybe got some cleats.
I can honestly say I don't know any. Unless you went to a camp, unless you was at a camp or you got invited to, a Nike camp or some type of athletic camp because you were being looked at to play on the next level. I don't know any.
So there's nothing stopping people from doing that, and that's the authenticity we talking about. Like that's the trueness that is needed from a heart space, not a pocket space.
Right.
But see, that's where it goes. That's where it goes back. And real quick, and I'm gonna let you go on. But that's where it goes back to when I say some of these athletes, once they get to that level, that status, they become disconnected to the everyday struggle. Hey man, you got your family. I'm not trying to knock any of that. You got cousins, you got everybody trying to, because you the one that quote unquote made it. But what about those kids that are looking up to you, because they see you on TV? Man, it would go so much more to your credibility, not just to say, oh, I started a charter school, because man, if you really look into a lot of these charter schools, some of these athletes are starting. They are really not the best. They start, and I'm speaking from.
And this is coming from educators. Both of these brothers are educators. They're not just some guy talking. Mr. Joel is in the Texas school system, and Mr. Brooks is in the Pennsylvania school system. So this is coming from educators.
In San Antonio, 2 Hall of Fame NBA players have charter schools opened up their doors, named after them. Man, the teachers say they only show up when the cameras are there. And it's lights, camera, action. So
it's something, man,
maybe their personal life. That's all I can guess it.
Now, to be devil's advocate, let's say the other side to that. There are dangers to coming into impoverished neighborhoods when you acquire wealth or some form of riches. So we must acknowledge that there are dangers. You are a target.
Yes.
But I'm talking about like coming to a football practice. I'm talking about I'm not talking about going in the hood and in the dark, by yourself. If you must. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about simple stuff that's still safe for you, but it's really not even out of your way. Like your trip, you probably drive to your house, which is across the street from the field, yet the kids at that school never see you.
Never.
I mean, that's my opinion on it, man. So let's go back, because we've been on, I said 30 minutes. We've been on here for like 50 minutes, and my producer just gave me the
look. Gave you the look.
She gave me the look, and she tapped the watch.
How many fingers? And how many
oh,
fingers?
You don't one.
Oh, okay.
The producer said, "Cut to the chase." So, all right, we touched on the NBA, we touched on politics, we touched on, is there really a difference between sports and politics? The entertainment industry is politics, entertainment. I think we kind of can agree. And then the consistency of giving back to the children, not just money. We're talking about your love and your heart, right? Your time, spending time. The most valuable commodity that we have is our time, and giving that to the people that come from the areas that you came from, because there's nothing that your money can do like your time. Nothing, right? So we also touched on my last question accidentally, but last thing, what's your biggest struggles right now being educators with having children virtually learning right now? What's that? And I'm seeing that firsthand in my home. My children are all homeschooled, so we didn't change the house into a school. We got my living room turned into an office. I'm sitting in my living room right now. My wife's office is in the family room. My other family room, my daughter's, that's her office. I mean, literally, dog. We got laptops everywhere. So what challenges are you guys facing? And we'll start with you, Joel. What are you facing in Texas for educating these kids virtually?
The biggest thing that we're facing is children digital divide. That's the technical term for it in education, a digital divide. And what does that mean? Children who do not have access to tablets, Chromebooks, laptops, iPad, a technological device. We talked earlier before we started, just about the children knowing how to work their iPhones and things better than the adults do. But when it comes to other technologies in the home, they don't have it, or a video game. That's about the only other thing a lot of our students have, a video game. So digital devices, man, that's the biggest issue. And then after the digital devices, making sure that students have access to a strong Wi-Fi connection, being able to actually connect to the world. Because I mean, let's face it, when I think our generation was the last generation that's going to come up, and we really were going to have to get into the books in order to find information. That's right. Now I just go type in Google, Bing, whatever search engine you choose, and you get about 50 million hits. So Wi-Fi and technology, man, and those things could be easily alleviated or solved. I won't say easily, but they could be if people put their heads together. But that is the biggest issue. And then I know right now because of COVID, there are a lot of Wi-Fi hotspots going on around, at least in Houston, going around the city, and I think nationwide. But as soon as those hotspots become not free anymore, then what are we going to do? What's next? Because digital divide, and then we're talking about equity. That's the other big thing. Having students having equitable access to the curriculum. Well, equitable access for the kid who has the ability to use technology is going to put them further ahead than our kids who don't.
Yeah, we're going through the same thing. Right now, I think next week is going to be a Chromebook pickup. There is a two Chromebook limit to each household. Okay. And then students who, it's supposed to be a program set up where we have something with either Comcast or something, because we have to know what kids are able to connect or have internet access. The other thing that some of the teachers are struggling with is in special education. Okay, how during the COVID, what about the students who are autistic and who also they can't get online because they don't communicate. What do you do with a child that doesn't speak? Okay, so we have some special ed concerns about some of our population in our school district that are not going to do well with going virtual. And then with the kids that I have kids who are, the stigmatized term was always students at risk. I'm gonna have my hands full because I'm gonna have to, they want to have homeroom and all this other stuff, and I'm gonna have to be tracking kids down. I'm gonna have to be tracking parents down, and me and the parent and the kid, we got stuff to do. So I'm gonna be very busy come September 14th. I'm gonna be very busy. Like right now, I'm doing all the setup things, and we have our own issues in our district. Like we're dealing with equity, we're dealing with systemic racism. We're dealing with a district where we lost a superintendent who was a firm believer and practicer, somebody who practiced systemic racism within our district. And with a district that has 90% Black, there is probably less than 10% Black teachers in this district, and the majority is all white male and white female. So we got a new superintendent who is working in the right direction to help change things, because he came into he inherited some dysfunction in his district, and we just been doing PDs every day now, all this starting this week. So, and the first couple of PDs was dealing with the racial tension and everything else, man. And some of my white colleagues, some of them are not ready for this conversation. And me, I always talk, and I always, go ahead and spearhead the conversations, but it's very uncomfortable for them. And I told them, I was like, look, when you've been sitting in a position in a white male supremacy system, and you have been sitting in the top position, you don't know what it is or what it feels like to struggle in a system that's not designed for you. The same way we talk about education, we talk about history. Like the same way, I get tired of don't talk about Blacks and don't start with slavery. I told them at our first meeting this week, slavery did not start. That is not our history. Our history does not begin with slavery. That is incorrect.
Come on,
and I told him, I was like, we have to, as a district, we have to be the catalyst of change. We can't use the textbooks anymore, so we're going to have to use outside resources. There are many Black writers, Black that are writing, male and female, writing a lot of books, writing history that has been suppressed and hidden. Okay, and they're putting it out there. So our district got a lot of stuff to do. And the biggest thing is, just being the racial equality throughout the district, getting rid of systemic racism in our district. And then we're working on the kids. Because I told my wife the other day, I said, I don't understand what keeps the Black applicant from coming in our district for the same money that the white applicant will take. I said, what's going on there? There's something with these practices, these hiring practices, that our Black male and female teachers are moving away from, but these white male and white females are taking these jobs. So we talked about equitable hiring practice. I mean, so we got a lot of stuff going on in my district. We got a lot of stuff going on, and I'm very optimistic because I like the superintendent. I like what he's doing, and he is and I've had my own private conversations with him. So I'm very optimistic that we're going to have some change. Are there some of my cohorts? Some of them through these PDs and things that we're doing. Some of them have been saying, talk is cheap. They'll see it when they believe it. And I understand why they're saying that. I understand because things have been said in the past and nothing has been done. It's been the same old status quo, as you know, as you call it. So
Yeah, can I chime in real quick?
Go ahead.
Hey, I know we're trying to get out of here. Um, um, I totally 100% agree with what Brother Brooks is saying. Um, I like to add a little spin to that though, on my own personal spin, in that we can't keep waiting for public education system to educate our kids.
right, that
You
is
know,
100. That's
Preach.
right.
we have to, and I'm, my opinion, we have to raise up our children in the home and teach them what we think they need to know. Because I see it far too often, even now. Parents are relying on the teacher to
Oh yeah.
do everything. And we know that, I
Practically
mean,
raise the child.
right, yeah.
Oh
And
yeah.
at the end of the day, we know teachers are human beings, but nobody's going to invest more into into your
Yeah.
child than you do.
Fact.
And that's stone cold fact. I was um telling my fiance, like, hey, when we have children, I said, oh, we are going to be on that teacher's back.
Right.
Why? But I say this in saying that, you know, that teacher, that individual will be more prone to give your child the attention, the learning, the teaching, the small group lessons that they need, versus the parents who aren't involved. So we have to take it upon ourselves, man, and start educating our kids and start getting in the communities and start doing the things that we can do, because that's the only way things are going to change. That's the only way things are going to change. We have to start building. And I mean, if it takes, I teach in the inner city. And so, man, the kids from the hood, when their fathers come up to the school, like the way people talk, you would think fathers are absent. And there are a lot of fathers absent from the homes. But the way people talk, you think they're not there. Now, when them fathers come up to the schools, those kids look like they done seen a ghost, you
And
know.
teachers treat children different.
And the
Who have a
teachers treat
father in their life.
children way different, yeah. And
Oh
so
yeah.
you have to connect with these people. When these people come to the school, they be like, "Oh, hey, what's up, Mr. Waters? Hey, how you doing?" I'm like, "Oh man, like." And I'm saying it to say it allows me to, as somebody that's not from this community here, it allows me to walk into spaces because somebody will come and vouch for me, and all of that. And all of that to say is, we have to start building within these communities. We have to start building with the people who live there. So that way we can go into these spaces. We can go and have sit down meetings and talks. We can have people who are also willing and receptive to learning. We can start to raise a little bit of the level of awareness, because the only way we're going to change the community is through the child. We're not going
That's
to
a
change it through
fact.
the adults.
That's
We're
a fact.
not going to change them through the adults, because the adults, man, we set in our ways and stubborn. We like, man, I don't got time. But the only way we'll change the community is through the children, man. Children close their ears to what they hear and open their eyes to what they see.
Well, folks, we're gonna end it on there. And we didn't give y'all a whole lot to think about tonight. We done been from here to there. We said 30 minutes, and we done been on here for over an hour. That's what you know is good, and that's what you know is authentic. It's hard to even keep time. We just flow. We've had a lot of good questions, a lot of good comments come in. A lot. I'll go back and review some of them and answer them after this. But I wanted to leave with 7 ways to improve self-discipline, right? Because I want to end every segment with some kind of positivity or encouragement. So you can go back, play this again. We'll have it on YouTube. Believe that you can succeed and set about doing just that. Learn to roll with the punches. Get busy achieving your goals. Always be aware of positive elements of hope. Have complete confidence in your ability to find a solution to any situation or circumstance. Keep going and growing. And lastly, be a self-starter. Do it now. Do not procrastinate. Don't wait for someone else to ring your bell. Be self-motivated. Start each day with a winning attitude. Every moment is precious. Don't waste one. You don't need an army to do it. All you need is to believe in yourself. All right, fellas. Everybody who's watching, thank you for tuning in to Health is Wealth. We'll be back with you guys next Wednesday. We thank Brother Joel, Brother Brooks, who are teachers, administrators in the school districts of Texas, San Antonio, I believe, and Pennsylvania, and in the heart of PA, correct? Philly?
You're right outside Philly, Delaware
Right
County.
outside of Philly. These brothers are in the trenches. They work with our children every day, and it's good to get perspective from learners, from educators, and administrators. And then we talked a little bit about sports as well. We might have these gentlemen back next week, or we may have someone different. Subscribe to our podcast. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram. Guys, give you a handle if you got it. Brother Joel, what's your...
My Twitter, man, you catch me on Twitter at jwaters1962 on Twitter. I'm gonna just give my Twitter, brother. That's where you kind of catch the good me.
Excellent. Brother Brooks.
Twitter is at Coach T Brooks. I keep it simple.
Excellent. You already know it's at HHT Fitness. This video is brought to you by Varner Productions, produced and edited. Also follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. We also are sponsored by Bam Juice. Follow us on Instagram or Twitter. Those names are at the names that we said: Bam Juice, Varner Productions, and HHT Fitness.
Get that Bam Juice.
Get that Bam Juice. Not the Bam Juice Coach Brooks did.
Nobody don't want that juice. Nobody don't want that juice. That's the fire juice. That's the fire juice right there. Nobody wants that.
I haven't had that one yet. I haven't had that one.
Man. You ain't get the fire. The fire
I need that fire one there.
Yeah, I need
I had to call this man. I had to call. You don't want to have to go to.
You don't want to have to go to the bathroom. Don't go. Yes. Don't leave the house for a day.
Right.
With that one, you got to stay home because the detox works. The BAM detox works. You ain't going nowhere for a day. No. Maybe it might linger.
I want it. I want to try it. I want to try it.
Dude, I'm gonna deliver. I'm gonna send it with your next order.
Okay.
I had to call this man up.
Man, let's get out of here. I love that. Health is wealth, and we out.
Get out and vote, y'all. Vote, man.